Good afternoon, and thank you for coming to our piano recital. My piano teacher, Dr. Rudnitsky, the aging but still dashing Ukrainian composer who had conducted great orchestras in Europe, welcomed the crowd of parents to his living room in Toms River, New Jersey. I'm sorry it's so hot in here. Please use the programs we handed out to fan the person next to you. The audience laughed politely. I wondered if my mother was among those laughing, knowing how seriously she took my musical education. She was, after all, a piano teacher, and even without saying so, she hoped my performance that day would be exceptional, or so I imagined. I wiped the sweat off the back of my neck. 22 other kids stood in the kitchen with me, uncomfortable in ties and jackets, skirts and dresses, waiting to play the pieces we'd learned. Marie, my recital partner, glanced at me nervously from across the kitchen. Soon I heard Dr. Rudnitsky say, "Next, Maria Stoka and Artur Bell, fourth graders, will play a sonatina for two pianos." His Ukrainian accent made my name Artur. Marie and I sat down at the side-by-side grand pianos and arranged our music. I listened for the silence that always filled the moment before I started to play. Instead, I heard the low, droning sound of a fan, the pitch rising and falling like a very slow trill. I felt a breeze on the left side of my face. The offending floor fan, standing behind Marie, was blowing a gale across the room. The fan turned the page of my music. I turned it back. The page turned again. Then the pages started to flutter. Marie watched with eyes wide and mouth ajar. The audience stared at us as if paralyzed. Nobody moved to help. I looked around for something to anchor the music, a brick, an ashtray, some chewing gum. There was nothing on the piano, not even the usual layer of dust. I checked my pockets, empty. I rose, walked over to the fan, and calmly examined it. I couldn't find a switch, so I bent down and yanked out the plug. The undulating sound of the fan faded to silence. My music stopped rattling. I sat down and we began the piece. After finishing, Marie and I took our bow. I felt the applause wash over us and allowed myself a smile. An hour later, after the last student took his bow, Dr. Rudnitsky invited everyone to stay for coffee and cake. All the kids hurried into the dining room. The parents wandered in looking hot and tired. I saw my mother chatting in a group. I walked over and stood close to her side. Another woman said, "You played very well, young man," then walked off to find her kid. "Did I do okay?" I asked my mother. I searched her face, damp with sweat, for signs of approval, but I realized she seemed annoyed. "My God, Arthur, why did you turn off the fan? Are you crazy?" But my music, it was blowing. I had to. "Well, you could have turned it back on when you finished. We were dying. It's probably 90 degrees in there." I walked away, fighting back tears. Dr. Rudnitsky was standing nearby. I turned so he wouldn't see me. "Artur," he called after me. "You played well. Very good job." I turned to him and he smiled. "And good move unplugging the fan. That's just what I would have done." "Thanks, Dr. Rudnitsky," I said, hoping he meant it. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, "When you are on stage, sometimes you have to think fast, and you did. Good job, Artur, good job." I turned back to look at my mother, hoping she was watching and listening, but she was still with her group, facing away. I decided to go outside and sulk. Just then, Mrs. Rudnitsky called out, "Come, children, I have ice cream." And all the kids scrambled for their reward. Marie, rushing by me, turned and said, "Come on, Arthur, ice cream." So I joined the line.